Unemployment does not exist in a communist-controlled economy, according to communist theory. The Almighty Party allocates resources down to the individual level, and everyone is assigned a job. Salaries are standardized, and people are paid depending on the type of job. One does not change jobs unless the government reassigns you. This is how Chinese people made a living after the communist takeover and before the economic reforms. They call their job the iron rice bowl. However, 30 years after the reform, with China being the second largest economy and overtaking the United States as the country having the most billionaires, many young Chinese are longing for the iron rice bowl again. What happened to the Chinese job market? Hello everyone, welcome to my show. I'm Lei. The Chinese call government jobs the iron rice bowl because it won't break and is enough to feed you. But when the economic reforms began 30 years ago, people hurried to throw away their iron rice bowl to find better paying jobs in private companies. In the past 30 years, private enterprises have held China's economy together. They employ about 45% of the population, 650 million people. There's a famous 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 expression concerning China's private businesses. Xi Jinping has also referenced it in a speech. Private enterprises contribute 50% of China's tax revenue, 60% of its GDP, 70% of technological innovations, 80% of the jobs, and account for 90% of total business entities. In recent years, rising labor and energy costs, high taxes, trade wars, the pandemic, and government policies, such as the efforts to strike down specific industries and consolidate private enterprises, have all dealt a devastating blow to the private sector. According to a South China Morning Post article in December, some 4.4 million small to medium-sized companies in China closed in the first 11 months of 2021. That's 3 times the number of new businesses opening during the same period. The number of private companies that closed in 2021 was almost twice as many as in 2019 and about 10 times as many as in 2018. China's Securities Daily reported on December 31st that within 5 months, 14,000 game-related companies folded after the government suspended approval of new online games on July 22nd last year. Not just small to mid-sized companies, large companies are affected too. China's online video platform, iQIYI, cut 40% of its staff at the end of last year. The Chinese Uber, Didi, announced that it would trim 20% of its workforce by the end of February. TAL, one of China's largest tutoring companies, let go 90,000 of its 110,000 employees. Li Yang from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences disclosed China's unemployment rates at an event last December.
16到24岁的有15%，20到24岁的20%，是吧？我们现在看，你要看那个发改委公布的是25岁到59岁这段不到4%，这就告诉我们，这个中国是一个结构性的失业问题，年轻人找不到工作是一个突出的问题，而20到24岁是年轻人中受过教育的。
Unemployment among recent college grads will be worse in 2022. The number of college grads will increase from 8.7 million 2 years ago to a record 10.8 million this year. So far, 40% of them have applied for graduate school, and 20% have applied for government jobs. The number of people who applied for teaching positions also broke a record. To summarize, the once money-laden private company jobs are not on the list.
现在的年轻人好的出路是越来越少了，特别是这2年因为疫情的反复无常，我们的工作呢也是越来越不稳定。经过这几年一路风雨，大家有没有发现，现在考公务员、考编制老师、进医院干医生，这些稳定的铁饭碗成为当下最香的职业，因为既稳定还不累，关键是离家还近，到月底就发工资，从来都不拖欠。
I think the real unemployment situation might be worse than what Mr. Li stated. Yu Yongding, a mainland economist, has said, employment data is the least reliable data of all economic data. Due to China's complex unemployment situation, statistical errors can be in the tens of millions. On February 9th, the People's Daily promoted flexible employment, saying 200 million Chinese are flexibly employed. What is flexible employment? It's someone who doesn't hold a permanent job, but a temporary or odd job that requires no skills. These people can't find permanent jobs, so they do whatever they can to make some money. Take a look at the flexible employment labor market in Guangzhou, one of the most affluent Chinese cities. The place is full of people looking for temporary jobs last December, and their chances of finding one aren't good. Some analysts argue that the 200 million flexibly employed should be categorized as unemployed as they continuously look for a job. That's about 27% of China's workforce, which was at 745 million at the end of last year. They believe that China's real unemployment rate is around 27%. So how is the CCP handling the massive amount of jobless people? Let's take a look at how the CCP has dealt with it in the past. Since the Communist Party came to power, it has had 4 waves of massive unemployment. The first wave occurred from the late 1950s to the early 1970s, when various political movements created economic disasters, including the Cultural Revolution, during which Mao Zedong launched a Go to the Countryside campaign, sending 1/10 of the urban population to the countryside, including 16 million urban youth. These young people became cheap laborers in rural China. Around 1978, when these young people returned to the cities, tens of millions were without jobs. This created the second wave of unemployment and a big crisis. The regime was thus forced to initiate economic reforms and allow private enterprises and self-employment. The third wave was from 1995 to 2002, during the state-owned enterprise reform, when more than 60 million jobs were eliminated from state-owned companies. However, due to China's accession to the World Trade Organization in 2001, strong exports and the influx of foreign capital helped the regime get over another unemployment crisis. The fourth unemployment wave came during the 2008 financial crisis, when China's exports dropped 15 to 18%, and more than 20 million migrant workers left urban areas to return to rural China. This time, the regime launched a 4 trillion yuan infrastructure plan. With massive construction of railroads, highways, airports, and other public infrastructure, unemployment was eased. Now it's the fifth wave. None of the rescue measures used in the previous 4 waves can be applied anymore. The CCP is running out of options. The people will have to cope with it as best as they can. We'll see how it plays out. Let me finish by sharing the stories of 3 ordinary Chinese. A young mother whose husband is a business owner, a recent college grad, and also a man who was in the business of education and training. Their stories give a grim but realistic picture of life in China.
我都不知道为什么我们现在的生活会过得一塌糊涂。然后呢，结婚3年多了，然后现在一无所有。我们一家3口还在外面租着房子住，要房没房，要车没车。然后就在今天早上，早上起来我跟我老公说，我说你给我点钱，我说我去买菜去。我把宝宝带起来，然后收拾好洗好脸了，等了半天他也没把钱给我，就是发过来我去买菜。我就说我说你先给我100块钱，他给我来一句说100块钱都没有，让我等一会儿他先收账。我的心里就突然一下就是不知道说什么的那种感觉。现在真的是去买菜100块钱都没有了，这生活还怎么过下去呀？
现在就是每天待在出租屋里，刷一刷简历，刷一刷一些工作机会。待久了的话，感觉其实虽然我对象没有说什么，就是不急嘛，慢慢找工作，慢慢找嘛，工作机会是慢慢找出来的。但是其实说待久的话，没有收入来源还是挺焦虑的。毕竟这个 也算是一线大都市了吧。这样生活的成本是比较高的，在没有收入来源的话，肯定是待不下去的。
他以前追我的时候，曾经说过这样一句话，让我非常感动。他说：“放心跟着我吧，以后我就算是去捡垃圾，我也比别人捡得多。”似乎好像一语成真呢。真的要去捡垃圾了。
因为这个双减政策我以为这个教育培训行业是一个朝阳企业，会一直永存下去。只要我们用心的做有市场的需求，有学生需要我们，因为我实打实的在为学生补课，在为他们考虑事情，然后就想这个绝对不会失业的呀。可是今天就再也不能做这个事情了，感觉自己失业了，真的要去捡垃圾了。然后下午就把房间里所有的纸壳呀、胶瓶子全部收集起来，我赶快去卖了，然后把卖的16块钱交给了他。然后我觉得明天开始，我觉得还要更加的节俭了。